Imainaya kashankichi, waikikuna panaikuna, alin hamui, Pacchanta jakta.
Hey, my name is Cheryll Glotfelty. I'm a slackliner highliner from the United States. And I have the pleasure today of talking with the founding officers of the Highlife Perú Slackline Association. So let's just start by having them introduce themselves.
Hello, here we are at Pacchanta in our chill day in Peru with Cheryll and Pepe and myself, Hugo. Welcome to Peru.
Hey everyone, my name is Pepe, and I am here in a pleasure of joining Cheryll and Hugo here in Pacchanta, taking a relaxed day and enjoying this beautiful landscape that we have around here.
Great. So let me ask you guys, how long have you been slacklining and how did you get into it?
Ooh la la. Well, actually, let me remember, maybe 2012, Miraflores, the park in the Malecón, with the people just passing around and sharing some free slacklines for everybody who wants to try. And then this spot begins to develop as a hot spot, especially in summertime. Well, that's how I start.
Cool.
I've been slacklining since 2015. I started in summer, also in Miraflores. I was lucky to meet the crew who was slacklining there, and that place was really magical, especially in the summer time. You can have like the combination of the city, the sea, and the sunset is just beautiful. And it was a good way of getting me motivated, and every time I start to going further and further until I met Hugo and I started longlining, and eventually I have the chance to go for highlining for the first time.
Yeah, so let's talk about highlining and let's talk about highlining in Peru and maybe like how you guys got into highlining and what the scene is like here, highline scene in Peru.
Highline scene. Maybe it's more like a history topic about the highlining.
Yeah.
Because we are more kind of the another generation of practicing highlining in the country. I think, or I talk to people about the spots or the places that were developed around 2005 maybe. There was a rock star Austrian boy, Heinz Saik, who opened spots in Hatumachai, in Ancash region, rock forest in 4,000 meters above sea level, a spot where we developed some highline and bolting there for some years. After 2015,
Yes,
I remember, no? With Swan,
yeah,
with Cleo, Cleopatra, Lauren, I think, no? Lauren, we met Lauren with the stomach,
yeah,
stomach ache.
she got an issue now too.
Yeah, and that was a good season, a good starting season 2015 for us to start more active into the bolting new spots. We started around 2013, maybe in Lima, with some foreign people, an Australian boy, I remember, Trent, who taught us a lot about the rigging stuff and techniques. and show us New Year. Yeah, maybe Alex Burrito, who was also really active some years. He's into the outdoor world, climber, mountains. Also, he was part of an expedition to the Yanapacha mountain with Lucas, the German guy. Was the world record altitude I remember at that moment. That maybe that's like the peak for the highlining in Peru. Something like Andy with Madonna. So that's part of the history I can tell you. Highlife started at 2019.
Yes.
As a group, as an institution this year, in January.
Yeah, maybe Pepe, you can add some of your thoughts and perspectives to that story.
Yeah, well, actually, I started highlining. This was a kind of like a surprise for me. I didn't know what highlining was until that moment. I was getting new on slacklining. I was, trying to go and train as much as possible I can, and then one day I remember I was in the house of a friend. We were cooking in the kitchen, and he said this weekend I'm going to do some highline. And I'm like, what's highline? So I just grabbed my phone, search for a YouTube video, and I said whoa, I want to do that as well. And he said yeah, well, I'm going with Hugo. At that time, I already met Hugo. We were training sometimes, some occasions in the long line, and I said oh, I can talk with him and I can go. And for my luck, things like the lining up and everything, that day, the friend who told me about this supposed to be going, but he didn't go. So I have the space in the car to go. And that's how I have introduced to highlining. For me, was wild. I come from the jungle. I am from Iquitos, from the Amazon jungle, where you have basically just 100 meters of difference from the sea level. And then I was just jumping to this 4,000 meter highline with this wild weather. The exposure was huge. Even that the line that we rigged that time, it was but that moment it was something huge, But now that we came back, it's something more accessible, probably not that high, not that exposure. But for me, in that moment, he was wow. I was so much into that, and it was funny because I managed to stand up that day. That was the thing that I did that, but then just had a different process. It took me really long time to start to focus in and start to moving forward. And the thing is that I really realized that the only way of train more the highline is doing highline, because you couldn't do that outside of that environment. So I learned how to do the highline here in Peru with Hugo, and then I moved to Argentina. I lived there for a couple of years, and also started sharing with the community there. I started to be more introduced in a place that is called La Fábrica. This was an abandoned fabric, textile one. So they have good towers, and people were rigging highlines from 8 floors high, and it was really nice. It was a good way of getting me introduced and start to be more and more comfortable with my skills. And then I started to moving around. I started to make a slack trip around here and South America, and it was really helpful for me. And that also Hugo, when he had the chance to travel out, start to feed yourself with ideas and what people is doing, what is working in that place. So after coming back to Peru, that was in 2017, I believe, and we met again with Hugo, and we started sharing our knowledge and our experience of traveling, and we were talking about just having a formal association, but it wasn't the time. So we started having different. I moved back to Iquitos, and there was zero highline for me in that time because I didn't have the gear or anything. But I keep being active training slackline. And in 2019, we met again, and this was for a slack trip that it was in Hatumachai. And that's basically when Highlife Peru took shape, and we started making it an idea first and a movement. That year we did another festival in Iquitos. This was a waterline festival, and that started giving us some strength for this. Then pandemic came, everything just stops, you know. But the thing is, like, after all this and after being like locked down for so many time, we wanted to go out. At least I wanted to go out. I wanted to start traveling again. So in 2021 we met again, and we went to Ananiso. But this was a work that Hugo was doing before, and I started like joining him after he did all the bass and the production, and with Johan also. So,
yeah. So I see two major stories here that I would like to have us talk about. So one story would be Ananiso, you know, what is it? How did it come about? And then the other story is the Highlife Perú Slackline Association. Why would you go to all this trouble when you really want to be slacklining and highlining? Why do you go to all this bureaucratic trouble to formally create an association? So we will pursue those topics in just a moment. You can stop that. And we'll
We are ready.
We are ready.
We're resuming our conversation in Cusco. And we've already talked about how they got into highlining and so on. And right now we want to share with you one of probably the most exciting project that Highlife Peru has done so far. And this is to develop a highline park at Ananiso Canyon. This is above 4,000 meters. And what's really unique about this site, and we will show you some pictures, it's also where local campesinos live. And so how did that happen? We want to kind of hear from you guys how you hooked up with these people and what it's like to work with them.
Hi Cheryl, thanks for the introduction and all the beautiful appreciation you have for us. Ananiso, wow, it's a beautiful place in the Andes, in the Cusco region, as Cheryl said, about 4,000 meters altitude, 4,300 to be exact. Ananiso it's now a highline park in process, thanks to the community permission, authorization to give us the chance, the opportunity to develop a sport in their lands, in their territory, in harmony with the flora and fauna, the culture and the environment, in conjunction, in fusion with our sport, our highline practice into the Andes.
Yeah, Pepe, can you give us a little bit of history of how that came about?
Well, everything starts with an image that gives us the perspective of what Ananiso Canyon represents, but we didn't have any idea. We've been working or we've been developing some spots of highline around Peru, but especially in Ancash region, and somehow after we had the lockdown and we basically reduced to non-practice highline, Hugo was really getting motivated and active to search for new places. At that time I was just living in Iquitos, wasn't moving that much, and Hugo and Johan, they decided to go and seek these opportunities for new spots. But everything started with Hugo once he was in a hostel here in Cusco, I believe, and he saw the image of Ananiso Canyon in a photo of a calendar in a hostel. But it was completely different because it was like completely green. It was in another season because here in the rainy season everything just pop up green and have a lot of vegetation. And he saw the image of the canyon and asked where was that. And you know, people say like this is Ananiso Canyon, but at that moment he didn't like pay that much attention. But it stood in his mind, and when he joined with Johan and started doing the mission for searching new places, they remember about Ananiso. And basically, what they did is they went to see how reality was in comparison to the image that they saw, and they started doing this Google Earth seeking, you know, to try to see how wide was or how many meters did it have. But actually, what they started to look in the computer, it wasn't nothing in comparison what they found when they went to visit in real life. So when they went there, they just blew their mind and said like, wow, this place is amazing.
So I have recently visited Ananiso Canyon, and the local community is maybe about 100 people, and they're sort of sprinkled in little houses here and there. The main village is very, very small, and they speak Quechua there, and their main source of income is to raise alpacas and llamas, and I think they probably plant some potatoes as well. And so this is not the wilderness like we might think of in America, where there's nobody there. This is somebody's home. And so I want to hear a little bit more maybe from Hugo about, you know, you can't just go there and bolt a line. This is somebody's home. So how did you become friends or get permission? Because I know you have formal permission. Can you just fill us in on that a little bit?
Well, actually, we were talking about an image, asking about friends who were in the area before us, especially climbers. The 7A Association, Climbing Association from Cusco, that now is based in Pitumarca district. Pitumarca is like the big district. Ananiso is like is part of the district of Pitumarca. So to be in context about the geographic, politic situation, we start asking them, Coco and Diana, about the rules not writing in these Andean communities. And they gave us a lot of reference, insights about how to approach a community like them, a Quechua community that is managed by a committee, a junta directiva, a president, vice president, etc. They give us the real reference to go on assembly to ask for a participation in a community meeting, a general community meeting, that is the last day of every month. So with these insights from the people from 7A Association, we were kind of prepared the first time we were there. After a first visit, a visit with Johan that was more like walking inside the canyon all the way around, trying to go out as we can't because of the river level. Well, the camping area, we were like super strange people the first visit. We were starting making contact with the security, which is one person who is the responsible of everything that happens during all days. We asked the security people to give us the chance to participate in the community meeting, and they were really surprised about us, about what we were doing. They were really like interested in us, to know more about us, to know more about our sport, about our conception of the sport, our efforts to make this development in a new area, especially we were like really more interested in just practicing our sport after some shootdowns in Lima.
Yeah.
I think we talk about this, like restriction in Miraflores for slackline in the park, restrictions in La Molina for highlining, restrictions in Verrugas Bridge in the mountain side of Lima. Well, we got some fines, we got restrictions. We were like super banned in the capital, and this just began with a motivation from Johan and to keep exploring Peru, to start making a canyon tour, to going to the Lost People, like a dream, make a full tour in Peru of any canyon we can find. And well, at the end, we just end up in a beautiful canyon about 4,000 meters sea level. That's kind of the history.
That's great. That is great. Pepe, do you want to add anything maybe about what it's like to be there and maybe some of the highlights that you remember from your times there?
Well, Ananiso, it's what I like to call it's a really wild place. It's something that I never experienced in my life, especially because I come from a different region of the country. I come from the jungle, so I am really basically close to sea level, and just making that big jump to go to above 4,000 meters is a huge thing for me. And the air condition, the air, you know, it just takes you a bit more of time to adapt and breathe and doing the activities. The weather, it's really cold. You have to use a lot of layers of clothes, but that just make it a unique place. You know, I never had the chance to train or do highline in a really particular place like this. I had the luck to travel a bit, to go out a bit of the country and meet these different places where we can highline. And as you say, like mostly of them, they are really in the middle of nothing. Like you don't find no one there, and you just come here to Ananiso, and once you're getting out of the anchor, you just see a bunch of alpacas just passing through, or you're seeing some mamitas or some papichas, and you know that just makes something really unique. What I can say, and I will share this time, is this the last time that we've been here in Ananiso last week. We have this amazing experience of meeting one of the papichas, Papicha Antonio. He's one of our best friends since we arrived to Ananiso. He probably has been, or he probably is like about 60 years old or something like that. But he is one of the most strongest men that I've met there. Like he's really tough. And he was like, day before, he said like, I'm going to do something special with you. And we were in the anchor of the highline. We were just like 4,300 meters. And he just approached to the next day and he said like, we're gonna do a watia. So watia, it's a ancestor technique where you use the soil, the earth, as an oven, and you can cook. And he just make the fire just in less than 1 minute, and he started to moving the ground around. He started to search for soft ground, hard ground, and he make like a pile of ground just there, and he started to like heating up. And then he just brought his potatoes that he just harvested a couple days ago and put it inside. I went down and brought a piece of meat of alpaca that we have, and we covered it on foil and we put it inside. And this was like, wow, this was something really unique. And you know, to have that chance of being there, practicing highline, just going out of the anchor and just meet this watia going on, it was just something spectacular for me. It's something that it will stay for the rest of my life in my memory.
Oh, that's awesome. Do you want to take a little break?
All right.
Or shall I pop the next question to you?
Yeah.
Okay. As we mentioned at the beginning, Hugo Flores and Pepe Rivas are two of the founding officers of the Highlife Perú Slackline Association. The other officers are Johan Chan and Annie Nole. And so what I want to know is, you know, you're highliners, you want to highline. Why did you go to the trouble, and I know it was trouble because I've been corresponding with them, why did you go to the trouble of forming a formal association, and how did you do it? And the reason I'm asking how did you do it, there could be other groups out there that want to form associations. So if they hear your story, it might help them.
All right. Well, la iniciativa, fue principalmente, well, sorry, the first initiative to motivate us to form an association, a slackline association, a slackline club, as you prefer to call it, is or was at that moment the motivation to get access, to request access to the city halls in Lima especially, because in our like a home spot, a park spot, the most known place for slackline in Peru is Miraflores, in front of the paragliding port in the Malecón, which is a super touristic park with a lot of people passing around from different parts of Lima, or international people, foreign visitors, neighbors who were interested in practice. Was a real challenge at that moment, finding a place where to practice. So we started with the idea of the association to start requesting the access with a regulation and with a eco-friendly vision that we can replicate in different districts, city halls of Peru, for slacklining and for highlining especially.
Okay, that's great. And then let's just turn it over to Pepe to give us just the thumbnail sketch of the steps that you took.
All right.
Okay.
So the first thing was to get a group of people that we can be lining up with our goals and with our ideals. And I believe this is like the most hard part when you want to do an association, in a club, or anything, because you cannot do it by yourself. You need a group of people, and you need a group of people that you know that it can be a team, and then you can team up really well, and then you can have the same vision to go forward. So that was what really took us more time. But then once we team up and we find the right people and the right team, then the next step was just to do all the tramits and do all the process that we needed to do, collect some money. That's the different, or the second hard part, because now on we are living in South America. Things are a bit different here, you know, especially related with economics. So it just took us a bit of time to manage to have this collective money. We were really lucky that we can meet you and that you can be our host for having our crowdfunding, and that was a good way of we start to collecting money, and we start to sharing our idea and our vision and sharing why we wanted to do this and why we wanted to collect the money, and people really identify with us and start to giving us that trust, start to giving us some money, and that really helped us to become a formal association.
So yeah, they created bylaws. They have all these documents, and then you had to get them notarized, and then they had to go through layers of bureaucracy for approval, and then they get kicked back and need to be changed a little bit. So it really took a lot of determination on your part, and I just want to acknowledge that. So that's a happy story. Great. One more little break.
All right.
And then we will just talk about
Okay. I'm gonna be next to the alpaca.
Okay, go ahead and pull yourself in, Sue, not so much in the sun. Okay.
Uy. Anyway,
Oh.
Yesterday we had the opportunity to climb a small sub-peak near Ausangate Mountain, and a shaman came with us and performed a ceremony. And what he asked us to do was to think about our intentions, think about our dreams and our goals, and he then created a ceremony, and hopefully those dreams will come true. But for now, I want to know from you guys, what are your dreams for Highlife Peru? Where do you see it going into the future?
Well, thank you for that introduction, Cheryl. It is true. Yesterday we have a really beautiful day and ceremony with a shaman, and we just put our whole intention and energy to those dreams become true. Part of those dreams are that we want to continue developing our park, the park that we're helping to develop with the community of Ananiso. Open more spots. There's so many potentialities that we will need like 4 lives just to try to do this whole thing there. The space is so huge. But also we wanted to share that because as I always talk and tell you once, like, nothing of this will be possible just with us having the place and just be ourselves. I believe that the magical about this is that we can share it. We can share it with anyone that wanna come here, wanna come join us, wanna come visit, or who wanna just highline and have a great moment and share and know a bit more about our culture. And that will be like one of the main dreams here, like continue to develop the park, continue to develop the sport, and also what we wanted to do in the future is explore a bit more the country. Like Peru has this beautiful and magnificent landscape, like all over the places, and we're just in one tiny point if we see the whole country about. And we are like focusing now in this region in Cusco, in Ananiso Canyon, where we also have the coast, where we have like really beautiful landscapes, and we have the jungle, where we can have so much potential for it.
That's nice. Hugo.
Wow, our country is so beautiful, so diverse, with thousands of places to enjoy, play, or do outdoor sports that in our vision, a dream could be like developing areas in all the regions, coast, desert, jungle, Amazonian, Andes, Andean valleys, Andean mountains, why not glaciers? Keep developing areas in an ethical way with the local communities, with the environment, the Mother Earth, the nature, respecting the rules that each place has. Keep learning the different cultures in our country. Our diversity is more than natural diversity, it's a cultural diversity, a social diversity, and these are challenges that give us the energy to keep exploring, to keep understanding how we humans are, and especially working more with the new generations, with kids, with young people, with girls, boys, and anybody who can feel this call in the same harmony that we would like to share with the visitors, with foreign people, with nationals, with regional people, with indigenous people, with campesinos, with any person who would like to try to improve their balance and sharing moments for life in a natural place. I think that's our dream, our goal.
As we like to call it, with any adventure soul that want to come and join us.
Young adventurous soul.
Very good.
You're so welcome.
Very good. Thank you guys.
It's a pleasure.
Gracias.
Loom. Dale.
Hello, alpaca YouTubers. No, I don't know if this is good, but well,
We can cut it, we can cut it.
agradecemos. ¿Mita? ¿Sí?
Dale.
Si me olvido de alguien, bueno, por ahí va. Well, we would like to thanks a lot to Ryan for this opportunity to share some experience of our lives for the last years that give us the resource to develop an area to present us as a sports people, as a responsible people. This way can be like a chance for people from abroad to know about us and visit us. So thanks Ryan for all the support you give to us, and to many other people and organizations that keep trusting in us, like Martin from Titan Climbing, Titanium Balls, to Javier from Andes Outdoors, a national distributor of climbing technology and Edelweiss products, to Coco Diana from 7A, to our good friend Rodrigo and Adela from Pitu Marca, our climber friends who always help us, hosting us, giving us a hand for everything. And to all the people and friends who trust and always say, hey, you're doing good, we trust in you, and thanks to all of them.
And a special thanks, this is from all HP crew, directly from the bottom of our heart. We gotta thank you especially to Rae Raptor, to Cheryll Glotfelty. She trusts in us, she came to visit us. It was a great pleasure to share with you, to show you a bit of our country, a bit of our culture. You already know the 3 regions of Peru in this short time, and I hope you did enjoy your trip and sharing with us. We had a pleasure sharing and showing you a bit of our culture, and we want to thank you very, very much for trusting in our project, for trusting in us as a person, and for always supporting us. Thank you very much. You. Hayaya. Hayaya. What happened?
You're good.
Okay.